Let's start our discussion for test 2 comprehensive test. Just like test 1, we will be adding additional content in addition to whatever the things that are present in your PDF. You can note it down and can improvise your existing content. Let's begin our discussion with the question number 1. Features of national asset monetization and discuss its significance and challenges. See students, government is taking various initiatives in the areas of infrastructure and economic development. Though direct question may not be asked, but these concepts will be helpful for you in different areas. Your economy cannot be dissected. Every topic is interrelated. So if not exact direct question, these concepts can be helpful at different points. For that you need practice and brainstorming. So let's discuss what is this national asset monetization. First understand the concept. National asset monetization. Simply, government is monetizing its assets. What is it? Let's understand this way. You people have some property with you. Now, you are not utilizing that property. You will ask some private person to use it, to take it as a form of lease, and that person will pay you rent, right? Now, you are getting money. Whatever the asset which you could not use it effectively, that asset is now being used effectively. You are getting money. The private person is getting the services. In the same way, government is also planning national asset monetization. Government has constructed various assets. Some of them are lying idle. Government has constructed them but not utilizing them. So government thought, why to keep them unutilized? Let's attract any private player. What happens with this? The private person will take it for lease for certain years and government will get money in return. Huge lump sum of money will be given to it. If government has to make use of those assets, it will take very long term plan, right? 10 years, 15 years, government has to again reinvest something. Government needs technological power, manpower and resources. Why to take that headache? Government thought, let's give it to the person who is efficient in that. This is not same as privatization or disinvestment, which we have discussed already. In that, government is selling off its assets. Here, ownership lies with the government, but for a limited period of time, government is giving it for the lease. Private player will take that asset. Now, government will get the lump sum of money. So whatever the asset that is lying idle, it can be utilized efficiently. How? Let's take one example. Let's say your Hyderabad has tank bund. Let's assume government want to monetize it. Some private player will come and give lump sum amount of money to the government. Government will take that money for longer duration, for 10 years or 15 years, right, depending upon the agreement. Private player will offer additional services on this tank bund area and it will charge from the people additional money to utilize those services. Now what is happening here? Government is getting more money. Private sector is providing us services. In return, he is also getting money. Whatever the land that is there, it is being used much more efficiently. With this, employment generation will happen. New infrastructure happens. New set of services will be provided to us. Right? So many amount of benefits are present. So this is the concept of national asset monetization. If I ask you in one line, what is national asset monetization? It's monetization of existing assets in the form of lease while ownership remains with the government. Now link this thing to the national infrastructure pipeline. Government has announced national infrastructure pipeline which cost 111 lakh crore to the government. Huge amount of money is required for this project. What is this project? National infrastructure pipeline. Under this project, government is trying to build roads, railways, pipelines, ports, all those things that are required for the infrastructure. Why? Because infrastructure, if you invest 1 rupee, government will generate 4 rupees. It will have the multiplier effect. So that's the reason government is focusing so much on the infrastructure. But how can government generate that money? It is 111 lakh crore. This policy says government through budget resources from central and the state government, it can be able to generate approximately 40%. So this part can be 40% and this part can be 40%. Approximately I am saying. And government thinks it needs some innovative mechanisms to raise additional money. So this is that innovative mechanism through which government will raise the money. If you have visited the government documents and government websites, you will see this particular diagram. This is the diagram which government mentions it there. In the national asset monetization, here whatever the existing assets that are there, it will be monetized, and from this monetization government will get some amount of money, and this money government will utilize in the some other assets. Government has got lump sum money that will be utilized in creation of new assets, and again this is a cyclic process. New asset will be generated and that can be monetized. From that monetization again money will be generated. That's how the government envisages its process. This is the significance. But the question asks us first features. So what you have to do, you have to explain what is national asset monetization in the introduction. Then you will talk about its features. Now in these features you have to talk about the major component. What is this national asset monetization? This national asset monetization has two components under it: core component and the non-core component. Government has various assets in it. With it, let's say government has so much amount of land lying idle, vacant. The railways has so much of land. Many PSUs have so much of the land. No one are utilizing them. That comes under the non-core assets. And government has also created National Land Monetization Corporation for utilization of those assets. That is called the non-core assets. Now what are these core assets? Government has constructed pipelines, thermal power plants, roads. All these things need upgradation, value addition, maintenance, which needs huge amount of the money. You might have heard or read in the newspaper, government has many underutilized thermal power plants. Now these things can be given to the private sector. They can make use of them in a very better manner, right? So these are the features. Let's not go to the significance. Let's talk about the features. So national asset monetization talks about core assets and non-core assets. Then in this, government will receive the upfront payment by unlocking the untapped potential. This is what the untapped potential which I have mentioned about. These are the lines that are mentioned in the government documents. I expect you people to make use of this discussion and utilize the same keywords. It will definitely add additional marks to your paper. Whoever the examiner is, he will feel that you have written government documents. You are not just creating your own content, because these are generalist in nature and everyone can generate something. So ownership will be with the government. This is not same as a disinvestment. Then what are the methods through which money is raised or participation is attracted? That is through PPP mode or other mechanisms, REITs and InvITs. These are the mechanisms you might have already studied in your prelims topics or else other mains topics. So these are mechanisms that facilitate private participation in this national asset monetization program. And all these assets are the brownfield assets. What are these brownfield assets? Those assets which are already constructed by the government but not yet developed for making use, or else we can say this is not new assets. Already something has been already developed, that is called the brownfield assets. So these are the features. Now what are the significance? So significance is, so you will get money from this. Whatever the money that is there, it can be used for creation of the new infrastructure. Government can reduce its fiscal deficit. This can, all these things can help for the generation of the GDP. It will develop the employment, and people can get better services, and private sector will also get new sources of income. Along with this private sector, these REITs or InvITs, they also offer investment mechanisms for the retail customers like us. Even we can also invest in these assets, and we can get rents or else some returns from it. So new opportunities are being opened. So all these are the significance. Then it reduces the government efforts, and in line with the liberalization. Government has no business in staying business. So all these efforts are in line with that. Now what are the challenges? Challenges are, you have already started PPP mechanisms. Even in the PPP mechanisms where there is government, private and public collaboration, there is no dispute resolution mechanism. If you have come to some kind of agreement, if something goes wrong in that agreement, who will be the independent dispute resolution body? That is not there. Even here, such a dispute resolution is not there. Government is working on it. Government will definitely come with a few things on it, but currently it is not there. And people say, look, Mr. Government, we have already paid taxes. Why should we pay additional taxes, additional charges? We are not willing to do that. You are charging us twice. It is your duty to provide the services. Why are you giving it to lease and making us pay again? So this is what people are criticizing it. And I have shown you the cycle, and this can also generate into the vicious cycle. Creation of assets, and again making use, again creation. So people criticize the same concept is nothing but it generates a kind of vicious cycle. And attracting investment is also a challenge. Private sector, would it participate in the areas where the returns are low? No. It will participate in those areas where returns are high, where good amount of profit is generated. Or else, why would the private sector will come? Even in the areas of disinvestment and privatization, only few assets are getting more attraction than the others. Let's say private sector would not be taking lease of rural roads, village roads. It would be interested more in the highways, 6 ways. Even in the highways, more than 4-lane highways, 6-lane highways. So they are interested in that because it will offer them more returns. And there is also possibility over a period of time, private sector gets monopoly. This is criticism that is there for every form of privatization, where monopoly can be given as fair criticism for all these things. So what is needed? Government should address these things. There should not be any kind of favoritism and nepotism. Government should not offer it assets at a throwaway or cheap prices. There should be proper study and should be given at right prices and efficiently address the concerns of the people. So this is the question. Now let's visit to our PDF. So this is the diagram. You have to make it your own. That means you have to reform it, reframe it, and see what you can take it to the exam. Using diagrams definitely adds value, but it should be utilized in an effective manner. You cannot add all these facts and figures. See and think what you can use in it. All these things I have discussed already. The features. 6 trillion would be raised, underutilized assets, and then I have discussed about the monetization, creation of the new sources, and then from where it is trying to create all these things I have mentioned. A public asset can be any property. What is actually public asset? That is also being defined here. The mode of raising the assets or is raising the revenue, it is through institutional investors or private sector. It's different from the privatization. And then, like I have mentioned, there are two important motives. First is it unlocks value from the public investment, and second, it utilizes the productivity in the private sector. All these things we have discussed. So where majority of the focus will be, it will be roadways, then railways. These are relevant for the prelims. Significance, boost economy. Now see, I have just given in one word, boost economy. It does not mean you will write like this in the exam. No, you have to elaborate. Try to explain it in 2 lines, or else you will not get marks. This is to simplify things. I have given it for the quick revision. You have to elaborate how it will boost economy. I have given you the diagram there. That diagram can be made here and you can link things. All these things which we have already discussed. Social development will happen. Capital expenditure can be increased. We have discussed this thing in the previous discussion while talking about the AP budget, where how the capital expenditure is very important and where we need money for the education and the health sector. I have discussed about the health sector. It is facing problems of funds. So these funds can be utilized there because private sector is not coming there. We have seen how the primary health centers are struggling with lack of funds. There it can be done. So now the challenges are taxpayers' money. They said we have already paid. Cycle of creating and monetization assets. Then private participation. This thing also I discussed. Asset specific challenges. Let's say even if the government want to invest in the private sector, even if they want to invest in the power generation companies, your discoms, the distribution companies, which I have already discussed in the previous session, they regulate the tariffs. Not the discoms. State Electricity Board regulate the tariffs. So if there is no independent regulatory mechanisms, would the private sector interested in to invest there? No, right? So all these are the challenges. Regulated tariffs, low interest among the investors in the national highways, which I have already discussed, monopolization. So conclusion can be national monetization population pipeline can help in monetizing underutilized core assets. This money can be used for the national infrastructure pipeline, and thus can improve the country's infrastructure and can create plenty of jobs as well. But execution should be transparent and must be free of political influence, and care must be taken to avoid the negative effect on the consumers. We have dealt this topic in a comprehensive manner.